say that Donald Trump was a danger to the world or something? He called him a danger, didn't he? So it was interesting that he would pick him anyway. I thought it was an odd choice, but hey, what do you think? Send us your thoughts. Post your comments at gbnews.com/your say. Does Peter Mandelson need to go? But first, let's get your latest news headlines with Sam Francis.
Hello, a very good afternoon to you from the newsroom. The top story this lunchtime, while the Prime Minister has clashed with Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch in the Commons over whether Britain's ambassador to Washington should keep his job. Badenoch pressed Sir Keir Starmer after Lord Mandelson admitted a note calling paedophile Jeffrey Epstein his best pal was, in his words, deeply embarrassing. She accused the Prime Minister of poor judgment, saying victims want Mandelson sacked.
In 2019, Jeffrey Epstein was convicted of child prostitution and sex trafficking that took place between 2002 and 2005. That is the precise period which Lord Mandelson called Jeffrey Epstein his best pal. Absolutely. He says the ambassador has expressed full regret, but the victims of the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein have called for Lord Mandelson to be sacked. It is embarrassing that the Prime Minister is still saying that he has confidence in a man who was brokering deals with convicted child sex offenders while sitting in government.
Well, Sir Keir Starmer rejected those calls made by Kemi Badenoch, insisting Mandelson had been through full vetting before being given the position of ambassador to Washington. Meanwhile, Sir Keir Starmer has condemned what he called an unprecedented violation of NATO airspace after Polish forces shot down Russian drones in their skies. He praised NATO and Polish forces for their swift response, but warned it underlines President Putin's blatant disregard for peace. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk says 4 drones were intercepted overnight, 19 incursions, most entering from Belarus. NATO jets joined in the scramble while 4 airports were briefly shut down. Major Mike Shearer told us it's a sign Russia, he says, is testing NATO's reliance.
This is antagonising NATO just to the boundary of war.
Well, another tragedy in the Channel today. 3 migrants, including, sadly, 2 children, have drowned while trying to reach the UK. French authorities say another 3 people are still missing, with rescue crews battling rough waters to find them. It comes just hours after a woman died near Dover, and as more than 850 migrants made the crossing in just 24 hours, pushing this year's total now past 31,000. The Conservatives' Richard Holden claims Labour are to blame.
The only people who benefit from the illegal crossings in the Channel are the human traffickers. They put people's lives at risk. It's a tragedy that more people have died, but we can only stop the Channel crossings with a real deterrent here in the UK.
Well, let's take you live now to scenes in Paris, where riot police are in the process of clashing with protesters as tens of thousands have taken to the streets under the banner of Block Everything. The government deployed more than 80,000 officers nationwide, but still faced burning barricades, bins rolled into roads, and even a bus set alight. Tear gas was fired, more than 200 arrests made so far across France. The unrest coincides with President Macron's swearing in of his 4th Prime Minister in just 12 months. International condemnation is mounting this afternoon after Israel launched a deadly strike in Qatar's capital, Doha, killing 5 Hamas members. Hamas claims Israel's attempt to assassinate its ceasefire negotiators failed, though a Qatari security officer was among the dead. Benjamin Netanyahu insists the strike was fully justified, saying it targeted senior Hamas leaders behind the 7th of October attacks. Qatar, though, has branded it cowardly and a breach of international law. It's now tasking lawyers with building a case against the Israeli Prime Minister. And now the EU is warning it could also suspend trade and impose sanctions on Israel, a move Israel's foreign minister has called unacceptable. And in the last hour or so, it's emerged that train operator LNER has confirmed that passenger details have been exposed in a cyber attack. The government-owned company says contact information and some journey records were accessed, though no bank or password data was affected. Officials say the breach involved a third-party supplier, and they're urging passengers to be cautious of unsolicited emails or messages. LNER says working with cyber experts to secure its systems and will provide further updates as the investigation continues. Those are the latest headlines for now. I'll be back with you in around 30 minutes' time. Now, though, let's get back to Westminster.
Good afternoon, Britain. 9 minutes after 1 o'clock. The Prime Minister has faced his first PMQ since last week's major cabinet reshuffle.
Yes, the opposition leader Kemi Badenoch labelled Starmer as embarrassing after he defended Lord Mandelson, the UK's ambassador to the US, telling Parliament he had full confidence in him. That's a big deal, all despite Mandelson's links to Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, joining us now is GB News' political editor Christopher Hope, who has some more breaking news for us.
Yes, pressure developing this lunchtime on the Sir Keir Starmer, who is continuing to back his embattled UK ambassador in Washington. Just moments ago, Belle Ribeiro Addy, who was standing to be the deputy leader of a Labour Party, she has said there should be an investigation into Peter Mandelson and his links to Jeffrey Epstein. She says this to the Iron newspaper: there should definitely be an investigation into it because there will be a huge amount of concern, and if the outcome is that he should resign, he should. That's the first time we have a Labour MP breaking ranks against Peter Mandelson. Peter Mandelson, of course, was a senior politician back in the Tony Blair and Gordon Brown government. He's brought back in, wasn't he, as the UK ambassador. He's done very well, I think. You could have to say that, as in terms of getting quite close to Donald Trump. But these images overnight released by the Democrats in Washington of him in a toweling robe, speaking to Jeffrey Epstein, of course, of deeply, deeply embarrassing, and take the relationship that we knew there was a relationship between Peter Mandelson and Jeffrey Epstein, but it seems to go much deeper, frankly, and much more personal, and that is why it's so damaging. I've just come from a briefing with the PM's official spokesman and his press secretary. It was 20 minutes of wall-to-wall questioning about Peter Mandelson. Number 10 are saying that he was fully vetted by the Foreign Office. He went through all the security processes. They have the PM has full confidence, as we heard in the House of Commons, in Peter Mandelson. All the victims of Jeffrey Epstein are front and centre of the PM's mind, and that's why I thought was part of the problem of why on earth, if that was the case, Peter Mandelson, who had these links to Jeffrey Epstein, we knew those back in January, why are they carrying on now? Now, we heard from Peter Mandelson overnight, he regrets entirely this relationship, wish he'd never met him, regrets coming close to him, but that may not be enough. And earlier in the House of Commons, in the last PMQ's meeting before the conference season, Kemi Badenoch laid into Sir Keir Starmer in what I thought was the most effective performance of the dispatch box she's ever given. Here's what she told the PM.
Mr. Speaker, the relationship between the US and the UK is one of our foremost relationships, and I have confidence in the ambassador in the role that he is doing.
Mr. Speaker, I think it is embarrassing that the Prime Minister is still saying that he has confidence in a man who was brokering deals with convicted child sex offenders while sitting in government. That is a disgrace.
Later, Kemi Badenoch said this was waffle and whataboutery, and asked several times about confidence in Lord Mandelson. Several times the PM said it was given. I thought it was fascinating. At one point, the PM, I think, appeared the most rattled I've seen at the dispatch box. He said at some point that this was a performance you should have given last week when Jean de Reyna was the ropes. To me, that was him doing his thinking out loud. Don't admit that in public.
It was extraordinary to see the Prime Minister tie himself quite so closely to Peter Mandelson on this issue. It means the two men are really now closer than ever before on this. The Prime Minister could have obfuscated, could have sort of said, well, you know what, I don't want to get involved, we'll have an investigation, whatever. He chose to dive in head first to back Peter Mandelson, a man who we learned overnight wrote a 10-page birthday card letter to Jeffrey Epstein, including a picture of that infamous island owned by Jeffrey Epstein with the words "yum yum" written above it. I mean, this is some really serious stuff.
Now, Lord Mandelson has always said he never saw any wrongdoing on the island you're describing there, or anything of the crimes committed by Jeffrey Epstein. But this looks maybe okay on a security basis, maybe. Again, we heard from Sir Ed Davey, he's the Lib Dem leader. He said, is it possible there might be some compromising material on Lord Mandelson? We don't know what it is. And given that role of Lord Mandelson in Washington as the guy who's coordinating, he's the physical manifestation of that special relationship on a diplomatic level,
well, that's really important. And what I find extraordinary, I think, is in the briefing just now with the PM's top team who talked to the press, we said, why not urge Lord Mandelson to release any further information, get it all out there, all the links that he may have on record that he knows about, we don't know about yet, between Jeffrey Epstein and Lord Mandelson, get it all out there. But instead they appear to be waiting for a drip, drip, drip assault on Lord Mandelson and therefore by proxy on this government. And the stakes are very high because next week, guess who's here? Donald Trump.
Really significant stuff there. Chris Hope, thanks indeed for bringing us all of that live from Westminster Hall. Now, let's get some more on Peter Mandelson. Yes, he said that he felt a tremendous sense of regret over his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. But this isn't the first scandal that this Labour government has found itself in.
Yes, of course, the Prime Minister promised to break from sleaze, remember all that? But within weeks of coming into power, his government was caught up in Freebiegate.
Yes, he was eventually forced to pay back over £6,000 worth of gifts he received from wealthy donors.
Then it came to light that the Transport Secretary, Louise Haigh, had previously been convicted of fraud, so she had to go.
Then it was the turn of the former anti-corruption minister, Tulip Siddiq, who resigned in a corruption scandal.
And let's not forget Mike Amesbury. He was convicted of assault.
Okay. You won't ever threaten me again. Hey. Ever threaten me again, will you?
Labour lost his seat to Reform in a by-election. But then in May, Lucy Powell, who lost her job in government today, was forced to apologise after this comment.
I don't know if you saw the documentary on Channel 4 about rape gangs over
no,
this.
we want to blow that little trumpet now, do we? Yeah, okay.
There was a real issue.
Let's get that dog whistle out, shall we? Yeah.
And let's not forget Homelessness Minister Rushanara Ali, who resigned after evicting her tenants before quickly listing her property again at a high rate, which breached the terms of Labour's incoming Renters' Rights Bill.
Well, fasting forward to September, and Parliament returned from the summer recess where the Prime Minister was doing the utmost to reboot his government, but his Deputy Prime Minister resigned instead.
We can confirm Andrew Rayner has resigned from the government. This comes moments after the Prime Minister received this report from Sir Laurie Magnus. He's the independent advisor on ethics.
And this week, another crisis for the government.
I regret very, very deeply indeed carrying on that association with him for far longer than I should have done.
Yes, Peter Mandelson's links to the disgraced paedophile Jeffrey Epstein have risen again, and the Prime Minister has backed his ambassador.
Yeah, because what happened was, it's been reported that he brokered a £1 billion deal with Jeffrey Epstein, but this was after Epstein had been convicted. So should the Prime Minister sack Lord Mandelson as ambassador to the US?
Well, joining us now is the former mayor of Middlesbrough and political commentator Andy Preston. Andy, I was amazed by how much the Prime Minister went into bat for his ambassador. He decided to tie himself completely to the fortunes of Peter Mandelson.
Tom, hello. This is staggering. I mean, Starmer looked incredibly rattled and shaken. He's had a bruising 14 months and a shocking week with the Angela Rayner affair. But this looks to me like it's going to get worse and worse. And I predict, actually, out of Mandelson and Starmer, one of them is going to resign very soon. I think it's Mandelson. Starmer cannot sustain this kind of battering for much longer. His judgment is awful. He's appointed someone who has been scandal-ridden. And you know what? The security vetting of Peter Mandelson, I guarantee, will have thrown up the fact that he was close to Epstein. There is no way that wasn't known and wouldn't have been flagged. That doesn't mean he did anything illegal, but it does highlight an issue, and it was a stupid decision to appoint someone with a staggering history of awful decisions, self-enrichment, freebies like Mandelson into such a vital role. This is awful for Keir Starmer.
The problem is, if Peter Mandelson goes, which I suspect he will, then who could take up that mantra?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think actually, Nana, there are just 1,000 brilliant candidates out there. It can be almost anyone who is appointed legally. There are very few legal restrictions, and there are so many reliable, dependent public servants with clean records who have led a good and, dare I say, boring life. And that's what
Perhaps
we've got.
Nigel Farage.
Well,
Nigel offered it before.
I don't think Nigel would take it up now, given his place in the opinion polls. But Andy, the strange thing about this, really, was that for the course of the appointment process, this was a very public process. Normally, there's some boring Foreign Office official who's put in place. The last person, Karen Price, was our UN ambassador. I mean, generally, this is within the Foreign Office sort of thing. But the newspapers had the battle between David Miliband and Peter Mandelson sort of writ out there. It's not like it was a slam dunk. I mean, they were agonising over this. They were briefing against each other. The Prime Minister made this decision not because it was the really obvious one, but he clearly thought about it a great deal. That's surely the shocking thing.
It is the shocking thing, and I think that's why this is catastrophic for Starmer. I think he's going to come under more pressure. He's feeling the heat, and I have no doubt that his life will be absolute torment right now. It is staggering. Look, he's appointed Mandelson. In one way, that's done, and we've got to move on, and he's got to move on, but he's got to remove Mandelson immediately and appoint somebody dull really quickly. This is only going to get worse. The longer it drags on, the worse it will be for Labour and for Starmer. And
in the meantime, of course, we've got record migrants coming over. Do you think that the Labour Party is sort of turning into what the Tory Party disintegrated into, where they're so internally obsessed now, they're literally not doing anything. They're talking a lot, nothing's happening, and there's scandal and sleaze on a daily basis?
The chaos is similar, but what's really interesting, Nana, is this has happened in 14 months. And it's political slapstick, but it's slapstick that just isn't funny, is it? We're all feeling the pain. It's not going to get better. I cannot see any recovery. The economy's not going to improve. The immigration problem isn't going to improve very quickly. Things are going to get worse. The headlines will get worse. Fighting will grow and grow as the polls stay low. So things won't get better for Starmer. Mandelson's got to go. And the big question is, when will Keir Starmer go?
Wow, big goings on there. And I suppose it's all those wounds are sort of prodded at and expanded over the course of this deputy leadership contest. One of the candidates now, as Christopher Hope told us just moments ago, saying that Mandelson should go breaking ranks with the Labour Party. We're going to perhaps see more of that.
Well, Andy, listen, he was right, wasn't he, Keir Starmer? Things are going to get worse before they get better. Thank you, Andy. Really good to talk to you. That is political commentator Andy Preston.
Well, now 3 migrants, including 2 children, have died while trying to reach the UK in a small boat crossing.
Now, this comes just hours after a woman died in UK waters near Dover, and as more than 850 migrants made the crossing in just 24 hours, pushing this year's total to past 31,000.
Well, joining us now is human rights lawyer David Enright. David, I mean, this is clearly a tragedy. I mean, children dying there in the Channel in what we understand to be a crush on one of these small boats. I mean, if this doesn't encourage the politicians to stop those boats, what will?
Well, I mean, first we pause and think about the 4 people who died in the last 24 hours crossing the Channel. And I'm sure you share this view with me. We wonder how desperate people would have to be to get on one of these ridiculously crowded small boats and set out to sea. It's tragic. The other issue is that there is a major issue with migration, and it's not just in the UK. Sometimes we feel it's just us. It's right across Europe, right across America. And it is people are wondering what to do about it. And there's talk of, let's stop the boats, let's do this. But really, we need to kind of depoliticize this issue because no government, no party has covered themselves in glory in relation to this. The Conservatives were in power for 14 years until last August. And the problem was just as bad under them. The Bell Hotel in Epping was opened by the Conservative immigration minister against the wishes of the local people. So I would like to see this issue depoliticized a bit so we can have a more of an adult conversation about it and try to ask ourselves, what's causing...
What does it mean, David, to depoliticise something? I mean, surely politics is when people present different solutions, argue about them, and we find the best cause.
Well, you just answered the question, haven't you?
Well, I mean, it's a very good point you make. It is about providing solutions. Unfortunately,
that's politics.
But what I think we're finding is politicians using immigration as a stick to beat other parties with rather than actually providing solutions.
Well,
can I just... OK, David, look, the human rights lawyers are part of the problem, though, aren't they? Because what happens is people come here and then they use all these legalese to try and get through all the hoops to make sure they end up staying, and we offer so many benefits and so forth. But it's become a bit of an industry, hasn't it? And you guys, the human rights lawyers, are, I think, are part of the problem.
And then I would absolutely and completely reject the contention that lawyers are part of the problem. The wonderful thing about this country is we have the rule of law. And what that means is that every person in this country is entitled to representation before the law. So I utterly reject the idea that lawyers are part of the problem. What the real problem is this myopic view that we focus on just people arriving on the coasts of Britain, rather than say, well, why are they coming? And what can we do to encourage them to stay where they are?
Well, don't give us such great benefits, I suspect, as part of it, and don't keep chucking out legal aid and all that kind of stuff. All right, thank you very much, Dave.
Someone escaping Syria is not thinking about benefits.
Well, a lot of people in this country can't even get legal aid. I'm being serious.
Syria is no longer the top. I mean, if you look at the top people from the top countries that are coming, I mean, historically, it's been places like Albania.
Pakistan.
We've seen Pakistan there. We've seen countries that are not at war, that don't have... I mean, these are clearly economic migrants in the main and not actual genuine refugees.
Listen, David, we'll have a longer conversation with you.
You're thinking about it, and let's continue thinking about it.
All right, David, really good to talk to you. Thank you very much. David Enright, he's a human rights lawyer.
Well, much more to come. Indeed, Strictly star Thomas Skinner, after his press day meltdown, as some say, he's being unfairly targeted, say some, for his apparent right-wing views. But after the break...
NATO fighter jets shoot down Russian drones after a major airspace violation in Poland. What does this mean for us here in the UK?
All of that to come. You're with GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
There's estimated to be 1.5 million people in Britain on these jabs. So, therefore, if everybody in the UK turns out to be skinny, what is that going to do for those who decide they don't want to take this jab?
Well, I think people start looking for somebody else to blame or for somebody else to attack. People have always attacked me for being a big man and for being fat. But now I'm losing weight and I've gone the other way around. I've lost 7.5 stone. It seems to be people are now attacking me for taking the easy way out. I mean, there truly is no winning. I mean, we should be appreciating that we've got a drug that seems to be dealing with a serious issue and helping a lot of people to improve their lives. And ultimately, it's going to reduce the cost on the NHS of what it's going to cost, you know, so we should be looking at the positives here rather than the negatives, because a lot of people seem to be attacking people for taking the drug. Ozempic and Mounjaro have been a lifesaver for a lot of people, so I'm in full support of anybody that needs it to take it and, you know, lose some weight and better their life. Why not?
But I think what this academic is suggesting is that some people who choose not to take these drugs, and of course lots of people don't want to be pumping chemicals into their body for whatever reason, even if there are no sort of terrible side effects, people who choose not to take the drug will have more of a sort of stigma. They'll be judged more and they'll feel pressure to take a drug just because of the social norms, if you like.
I can get where you're coming from. I mean, look, nobody should be judged in the first instance. It shouldn't be an issue to start with. You know, to try and get people to stop judging people in general is something that's going to be, you know, unachievable. But ultimately, nobody should be, you know, attacked or told off for trying to lose weight the natural way. If anything, fair play to them. You know, they're trying to do it themselves without the need and assist of something like Mounjaro or Ozempic.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you Spread the word.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 28 minutes past 1. Now, concerning news here, Poland says 19 Russian drones violated its airspace overnight during strikes on Ukraine, with Polish and NATO jets shooting some of them down.
Prime Minister Donald Tusk says that it's the first time Russian drones have been destroyed over Poland.
Well, this marks what could be a major escalation in the region, and residents have been urged to stay indoors as Polish armed forces identified and neutralised the objects.
The Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has reacted to Poland shooting down Russian drones this morning, saying this morning's barbaric attack on Ukraine and the egregious and unprecedented violation of Polish and NATO airspace by Russian drones is deeply concerning.
Well, joining us now is retired British Army officer and defence expert Simon Diggins. Simon, I mean, if NATO is involved in shooting down Russian drones, how close are we to war?
Good afternoon to you. I would say that this is a major escalation. Whether we're close to war or not is unclear. It also depends on whether you believe we're actually at war with Russia or not at the moment. What we've seen over the last 18 months, 2 years, is an increasing level of what you might call sub-threshold aggression by Russia, reflecting things like sabotage, assassination attempts, cyber attacks, some very aggressive spying. We had a Russian spy ship sitting over the top of one of our most sensitive undersea cables recently. And this is just another example of that. This is pushing NATO to see how they respond and how they're resilient. So I say this is a very serious escalation. There have been, in the last year or so, occasional missiles or drones that have strayed into Polish airspace, but those have always been identified up until now as being accidents, whether caused by interceptor missiles or just human error. But this looks deliberate and therefore is a significant and major escalation.
This is, I mean, I think you're right. I think Putin is testing the will of NATO and Article 5, isn't he, really? And if we don't react, then isn't that sort of a green light to Vladimir Putin that an attack on one is not really an attack on all at all?
No, I think that's absolutely correct. I think the analysis is absolutely spot on. The reality of life is that Putin is aggressive. He's a revanchist. He's looking to try and resurrect what he sees as the great power that was first the Soviet Union and now Russia. And his ideal position is where he was. If you recall, he was a KGB officer in Eastern Germany. And as far as he's concerned, that was an ideal situation. This whole range of buffer states between Mother Russia and the West. And so he's pushing. He's pushed in Ukraine, he's pushing here, and he'll push elsewhere. He's got ready-made sort of casus belli, reasons for going to war in the Baltics and in other areas, for example, Moldova, Transnistria, and places like that. And he will use every opportunity he can, every crisis he can create in order to test NATO and see whether, in fact, the famous and hitherto relatively untested Article 5, attack on one is attack on all, actually stands up or not. And this is part of that provocation.
But of course, the modus operandi of Russia, as it's always been, is plausible deniability. I mean, he can very easily say, well, these drones didn't mean to... It was only a few drones. They went a little bit into Poland's airspace. They were perhaps not meant to go there. They were blown off course, whatever he could argue. And then NATO looks like the aggressor if it shoots down Russian drones. I mean, I wonder if we're all getting sucked into some sort of trap here by bigging this up into something more than it should be. I mean, Putin wanted to take Kiev within a week or two. He failed. He wanted to sweep through Ukraine. The lines have been pretty much static now for the best part of, 2 years? And ultimately, does Putin actually have the power to do anything beyond prod and annoy?
Well, he can certainly do that. You're also right about the plausible deniability. We're just starting to see some information coming out now about the tracks that these missiles and drones use, and they basically fly along the northern Ukraine-Belarus border. And his great ally in the region, Belarus, has already said that they appear to have gone off course and wasn't deliberate, but absolutely fits that model of plausible deniability. I mean, the reality, though, for Putin and for what he's after, as he believes NATO is an aggressive organisation, not a defensive organisation. He believes countries like Poland, Ukraine, the Baltic states should be effectively a part of Russia's sphere of influence and therefore should not be part of NATO. So my assessment of this is basically that he's using this to test our resolve. He'll push here. He's been pushed back. There's been a very vigorous response, not just by the Poles, but by NATO and the Allies. And then he'll push somewhere else if he can perceive there's weakness, and he's got the excuse to do so. But it is dangerous because this is a very high-risk, high-escalation game, and it could go very badly wrong if we don't manage it correctly.
All right, Simon Diggins, thank you very much. He's a retired British Army officer and a defence expert. Thank you very much for that.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Plenty more to come on today's programme.
Yes, we'll have the latest on the alarming and growing number of migrants crossing the Channel daily, with 4 deaths confirmed in 24 hours. But first, let's get your latest news headlines.
Very good afternoon to you. The top story this lunchtime. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch has accused Sir Keir Starmer of poor judgment over his ambassador to Washington. Lord Peter Mandelson admitted a note calling Jeffrey Epstein his best pal was, in his words, deeply embarrassing. The Prime Minister, though, is standing firm, insisting Mandelson had been fully vetted. Well, Sir Keir Starmer is also hitting out at Moscow, calling the downing of Russian drones in Polish skies an unprecedented violation of NATO airspace. Major Mike Shearer suggests Russia is testing NATO's resilience.
This is antagonising NATO just to the boundary of war.
Another deadly day in the Channel. 3 migrants, 2 of them children, have drowned trying to reach the UK. Hours earlier, a woman died near Dover. More than 850 made the crossing in just 24 hours, pushing this year's total past 31,000. The Conservatives' Richard Holden claims Labour are to blame.
The only people who benefit from the illegal crossings in the Channel are the human traffickers. They put people's lives at risk. It's a tragedy that more people have died.
Live to Paris, where riot police are clashing with protesters vowing to block everything. Barricades burned, buses torched, and over 200 arrests made as Emmanuel Macron swore in his 4th Prime Minister in just 12 months. And train operator LNER has admitted passenger details have been exposed in a cyber attack. Contact info and journey records were accessed, though not bank details. Officials say customers should be vigilant. Those are the headlines for now. I'll be back with a full roundup at 2.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Well, there's lots more coming up on today's programme. Indeed, after Tom Skinner's apparent press meltdown, some say he's being unfairly targeted for his right-wing views. Would it be the same if he had left-leaning opinions?
Well, all that and more to come. You're at GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello again, I'm here with your GB News weather forecast coming to you from the Met Office. Now today's going to stay pretty unsettled for many of us because there's more heavy and thundery showery rain pushing its way across the country. There is an occluded front making its way northeastwards. This is bringing some showers, but behind it a deeper feature that's bringing some more intense rain. So some heavy bursts of thundery rain pushing across particularly western parts of England, Wales and also western Scotland. It's here where we're going to see the highest rainfall totals building up. Even elsewhere, a fair few showers to watch out for, but the greatest chance of staying dry will be across eastern areas, and here perhaps the highest temperatures. We're looking at them just about scraping into the low 20s, but do watch out, there will be some blustery winds taking the edge off those temperatures. Now as we go through into this evening, that more persistent and at times heavy rain will push across more parts of Scotland, so western, southern parts. Here we're going to see those totals building up a wet into the day here. Showers across Northern Ireland, still some heavy, perhaps even thundery ones. Meanwhile, more heavy, perhaps persistent rain across parts of northern England, and it's a showery picture across much of the rest of England and Wales as we go through towards the night. Now there will be something a bit drier and clearer following in behind from the west as that band of more persistent rain clears away towards the northeast, but also a fair few showers coming in from western parts as we go overnight, and so it's not going to turn completely dry, although across some central and eastern parts parts there will be a lot of dry and clear weather, and here temperatures dropping a little bit lower than they have done through some recent nights, even some towns and cities getting into single figures. Then tomorrow it's going to be a blustery, showery day. The showers piling in from the west, so it's western areas where they're going to be most frequent, but some will filter their way further east as well. The chance of some more persistent rain affecting the far northwest of Scotland, and here we're going to have some strong winds, the risk of gales perhaps for some of us too. Elsewhere, a blustery day.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The M74 northbound is closed between Junction 8 and Junction 6. Drivers should follow the designated detour. In Surrey, all lanes are shut on the M23 southbound between Junction 8 and Junction 9 due to a police incident. Commuters should expect delays and adjust travel accordingly. Also, road users on the M4 eastbound between Junction 10 and Junction 8 should note a broken down vehicle causing a lane closure. And on the trains, Northern bus services are replacing trains between Corkickle and Whitehaven, while South Western Railway faces disruptions between Winchester and Basingstoke. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. Now, drama is already swirling around this year's Strictly, the curse of Strictly, and it's not even hit the dance floor yet.
Yes, the Apprentice star Thomas Skinner has found himself at the centre of a storm after leaving a press conference that was all to do with the show, apologising for grabbing a journalist's phone.
Now, the BBC has already faced criticism for signing him up, which I don't know why. Some point out that his right-wing politics, it's OK if you're on the left, and even his recent meeting with US President J.D. Vance. What?
Right, so the question is Tom Skinner being unfairly targeted here? Well, joining us to discuss this is the author and broadcaster Christine Hamilton.
Hey!
Now, Christine, I know famously you were on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. I'm sure there were press junkets and meetings with journalists. They can be high-pressured things. But you're very obviously someone who has connections to politics, is known as a political commentator on the right. Did you feel sort of a greater microscope on you when you were doing that sort of stuff?
Yes, I did, as a matter of fact. I mean, there was a microscope on all of us, and I think it's not quite the same, if I can say, because that was the very first I'm a Celebrity. Nobody knew what was coming, so we were all under a mega microscope. Everybody knows what Strictly is all about. So I do think he's been unfairly targeted. He has now apologised to the journalist online, on social media, and possibly to her deliberately. The problem was that he saw on her phone a load of messages, which he probably didn't want him to see, which referred to some of his past history. And he just thought, oh, here we go. She's going to rake up all this old rollicks. True or not, he just didn't want to go there. He wanted to talk about Strictly, and he just flipped. OK, we've all done it. We have all done it. I once did the unforgivable, which was I put my hand over the lens of a Sky cameraman. Bless him, he never broadcast that particular shot. So we've all lost our cool. I think he'll be a terrific contestant.
Why did you do that, Christine?
Oh, because I was under massive pressure. I mean, I'd got about 10 cameras around me, and I just kind of went like that, which is the one thing of all else you shouldn't do. And he didn't use it, and also he sent me a photograph of me doing it, actually, which I thought was rather sweet.
Here's a warning. Anytime I can use this.
I can assure you I've never done it again. So he's just got to keep his good. What is wrong with him, for goodness sake? Yes, he's a friend of J.D. Vance. OK, so what? He's a patriotic Englishman. He loves his wife. He loves his kids. He loves his pub grub. He spends a lot of time trying to inspire people. Exactly. He knows what it's like to be rock bottom. He's slept on the floor. He's had nothing in his life, and he's done very well indeed. He now employs 14, 15 people, and he tries to inspire young people, young men in particular. Now, what is wrong with that. They had a choice.
It's such a necessary voice, isn't it?
It's typical.
Yeah.
It's typical that they pick on that. But Christine, would you not say that a lot of the stuff there, really, when you were doing it, right wing was just common sense, like a man cannot be a woman, all that kind of thing. But now, if you say that, it's like all far right as soon as you say something that they don't agree with. Is this the sort of typical thing that the BBC find themselves kind of embroiled in of late?
Oh, heavens alive, yes. It's woven into their DNA. There'll be a lot of people working on Strictly. You can bet your bottom dollar who really can't stand Thomas Skinner because he's a proud Englishman. He's all the things I've just said. They will assume that he's a racist, that he's far right and all that sort of rubbish. They will hate the fact. They probably wanted to work with Narendra Kaur instead. Thank heavens we've been spared that. I mean, I think he'll be a terrific contestant. And he says himself...
Christine, just very quickly, because we are running out of time, do you think that he should be a bit more, I don't know, composed in the face of criticism? He is now becoming a big star. A lot of people look up to him. He's a sort of role model for a lot of men in particular. Should he have a bit of a stiffer backbone when it comes to journalists' questions?
Difficult. It's not as
I'm
easy.
sure he will. He will learn rapidly how to deal with journalists. And he says himself, when he's out and about in the streets, all he gets is people positively coming up towards him. But no, Skinner should absolutely stay. The person who should go is Mandelson.
Yes, Christine Hamilton, thank you very much. So well put. Lovely to see you again, Christine. Thank you very much. Author and broadcaster, Christine Hamilton.
Well, elsewhere, the BBC's chairman says that the broadcaster must reflect the rise of Reform UK because the party's growing popularity in the polls.
God, you'd think they'd be doing that anyway, seeing as they're a political party. Dr Sami Shah defended its coverage whilst he and the Director-General, Tim Davie, were grilled by MPs over bias and recent scandals.
No, it is an important point to raise because a lot of people will point to the House of Commons and say, look, they've only got 4 MPs. Why are they getting all this airtime? But then you look at the polls and you look, they have a 10-point lead with most pollsters.
Well, also...
I mean, they're in a different place to where they were a year ago.
Well, also the electoral system. I mean, they came second in, I think, was it 98 of the constituencies that they, second to the Labour Party. So, and they would have taken many seats. And remember, again, we don't have the sort of proportional representation that would work effectively for the numbers that they actually got. So, for example, the Liberal Democrats got, was it 72 MPs. And they had 3.5 million votes, whereas the Reform got 4 million and only 5 seats.
And now Ed Davey is complaining that he's not appearing so much on lots of broadcasters. But, I mean, ultimately, it's got to be not just about what happened 14 months ago in the last general election. You've got to be looking at where the country is now. What are the opinion polls saying now? What are the local election results? What are going to be the results in Wales and Scotland next year? I mean, we're seeing these polls and this political movement. Broadcasters have a duty to represent where the country is today, not 14 months ago.
But also, it was a bit pious of the BBC, and I did work for them. I did enjoy it, but I left because there wasn't the perspective that I could see, and that wasn't being broadcast. And they've continued with that for many, many years. It's only now that they are actually getting with the programme and realising that people won't watch if you don't represent their views and their thoughts.
Do you think the rise of certain television channels? I don't know which particular television channel I could possibly be referring to.
What do you mean, the number one news channel?
The number one news channel in the country. Could that be having any influence on any of those other channels? I'll leave that question open for people to make their own minds up on.
Now, well, what do you think? GBNews.com/your say. But this is Good Afternoon Britain. On GB News, lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, it's National Gibraltar Day. We're there on the Rock live. So if you're in search of some holiday sun, why not check out Gibraltar? But here's the wider weather.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Looking ahead to tomorrow, and many places around southern Europe will have a lot of fine weather, but not everywhere. The heavy thundery rain that's been plaguing parts of Italy recently, that's pushing its way north and eastwards into parts of Greece, and there's still the risk of some thunder as it makes its way through. Elsewhere, lots of dry weather, yes, but across some parts of northern Portugal and northwest Spain, it is going to be pretty wet, even some strong winds. Otherwise, a largely fine picture as we go through into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's News Channel.
News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. Good afternoon, Britain. It's 10 to 2, and today is the National Day of Gibraltar, commemorating the country's first referendum in 1967, where citizens chose to remain under British sovereignty.
Well, events are being held throughout the day to celebrate the Union flags and decorating streets of Gibraltar. But right there for us is our reporter, Jack Carson. Jack, what's the mood on the ground?
It is electric. It's such a party atmosphere. National Day is a bank holiday. Everyone gets it off to come and celebrate. As you were mentioning, that referendum in the 60s, which said that Gibraltar would remain under British sovereignty, but ultimately would remain having the freedom for self-determination. That's one of the other things they're celebrating here. I've got a hat, look, National Day on my hat, so I can get into the mood. Lots of people here singing, getting into the mood, having a bit of a drink in the beautiful sunshine. But let's speak to one of the people now who's come all the way from the UK. It's Conservative peer in the House of Lords, Lord Kempsell. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Why have you wanted to come out here for National Day?
Because it's so important that British parliamentarians show support for the self-determination and the integrity of Gibraltar. Today, on Gibraltar National Day, it's commemorating, of course, the 10th of September 1967, the first self-determination referendum, the referendum that established without doubt British sovereignty in Gibraltar and renewed that for the next generations. In that referendum, 12,138 people in Gibraltar voted to remain British. Guess how many voted to become Spanish? 44. And that incredible majority is carried through right to today. In 2025, Gibraltar is choosing British sovereignty, and people here are very, very proud of it. So it's important we come and support it.
And of course, you can see that pride in the amount of flags that we've got everywhere, both Gibraltar and, of course, the Union flag. Now, back in the UK, it's a bit of a divisive issue at the moment. Lots of talk around whether people should be putting those flags upon lampposts. When you come here and see those flags, what do you think when you see those flags flying here?
Both the Union Jack and the Gibraltar flag are plastered all over Gibraltar today. It's a celebration on National Day that's bringing people together under those flags, and there's no hesitation here whatsoever in displaying national pride, pride in having British sovereignty, pride in being a free and successful, economically booming Gibraltar, and it's being expressed by the people here today. And they say here in Gibraltar, Gibraltarians always say that their flag is red, white and proud, red, white and free, and also red, white and blue, embracing British sovereignty. So it doesn't seem to be a problem here at all.
Right, Lord Kensal, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, coming over from the UK and the House of Lords to be part of the National Day celebrations today. It's not just him, it's us, it's all of these people here. We're all enjoying National Day, of course, celebrating that British sovereignty.
Jack Carson, you're right, you pointed out, Tom did point out to me that it looks like one of the men in black, doesn't he? Ross Kensal there.
Oh, I like the dark glasses, it's so mysterious. No, wonderful stuff. Jack Carson, thanks indeed for being there and showing us the atmosphere as well.
It looked totally out of place, didn't it? It was sort of like a secret agent in the middle of it all.
I think when you're a member of the House of Lords, you have to, it's sort of almost the law that you always walk around in a suit and tie.
Could have been a blue suit, light blue, could have done light blue. We'll stay with us, loads more still to come. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. Don't go anywhere. Let's take a look at the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, as we go through the rest of this week, it's going to stay unsettled. There will be some more heavy and at times thundery showers and some blustery winds too. It's all because we have a mature area of low pressure to the northwest of the UK, and this is driving some fronts across us at the moment. These fronts bring some heavy, at times persistent, thundery rain across western parts, and then that feeding northeastwards as we go through the night, eventually clearing away towards the northeast. Behind it, there will be some drier and clearer weather, particularly across central and eastern parts, but further west, more showers piling their way in. Where it stays dry and where we have clear skies, temperatures, particularly away from towns and cities, will fall into single figures, but even a few places, more built-up areas, could just about drop into single digits. So a bit of a fresh start tomorrow compared to some recent mornings. Plenty of showers across southern parts through the morning, some of them feeding up through the Bristol Channel, and they are going to become more widespread as we go through the day. A showery start for Northern Ireland, western parts of northern England, some of those feeding across the Pennines, and also plenty of showers across much of Scotland. In fact, here, the showers are likely to merge into some longer spells of rain. We have some rain wrapping around, and so the rain's going to be quite persistent at times, and we do need to watch out for some strong winds. We're talking gales, maybe even severe gales, around the most exposed parts towards the northwest of Scotland. Otherwise, as we go through into the afternoon, plenty of showers. They're going to be really widespread, and some of them will be heavy and thundery. There'll also be some blustery winds, which will take the edge off the temperatures, which should just about get into the high teens or low 20s for many of us. More showers as we go through the end of the day, still wet and windy towards the far northwest of the UK, and that takes us really into another showery day on Friday. More showers to come as we start the weekend. Sunday has the potential to bring some very wet and windy weather, but details need to firm up on that.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
This is your chance to win a motorhome and cash in our biggest giveaway to date. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be the proud owner of this 2025 Benamar Primero. It comfortably accommodates 4 people and can be driven on your standard driving licence. Plus, you'll also bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. Make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 253 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
It's Patrick Christie's tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Wednesday, the 10th of September. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Nana Acquia.
I regret very, very deeply indeed carrying on that association with him for far longer than I should have done.
Britain's ambassador to the US, Peter Mandelson, is under pressure, admitting that he stayed friends with Jeffrey Epstein far longer than he should have, sparking calls for Sir Keir Starmer to sack his top ally.
Indeed, the Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch did not let the matter go during Prime Minister's questions at midday.
Mr. Speaker, I think it is embarrassing that the Prime Minister is still saying that he has confidence in a man who was brokering deals with convicted child sex offenders.
Huge pressure now on Sir Keir Starmer of the future of his US ambassador. Will he sack him? Already the deputy leader challenging for that role, Bel Ribeiro Addy, says there should be an investigation. This is a fast-moving story.
Tragically, 2 children were among 3 migrants who drowned in the Channel this morning. It comes as GB News can now also reveal that more than 31,000 have crossed so far this year, with 850 arriving in the last 24 hours.
Well, from crisis to crisis, NATO fighter jets shoot down Russian drones after a major airspace violation in Poland. Is this the closest we've come with direct NATO conflict with Moscow?
It's Back British Farming Day, but are we really doing enough to support our farmers? We'll be live on a York farm.
And of course, it's National Gibraltar Day. We're there live.
Well, here in Gibraltar, it is National Day. Bit of dancing, bit of street parties getting underway, celebrating that 1967 referendum, which said they would remain under British sovereignty with self-determination. It's a beautiful day, and it's a beautiful atmosphere here in Gibraltar.
Ah, Gibraltar. Have I been to Gibraltar? No. I've been to Jersey. I've never been to Gibraltar. Have you?
I've not been to Gibraltar, not yet. I do have a friend who's got a place there, though, so I might have to.
Go whilst we still got it. We're giving everything away, aren't we?
Oh, no. Oh, goodness me.
The Chagos deal. I mean, that's just ridiculous, isn't it?
It's actually very, very sad that these places, especially given the role that we're supposed to believe in self-determination, right? This is what disintegrated the British Empire after the Second World War. You know, when Queen Elizabeth II took to the throne, about a third of the world was still controlled by this country, and over the ensuing couple of decades, that all went. I think no one begrudges the fact that happened, but it did. But that was on the principle of self-determination, that the citizens of each individual area
should determine what they wanted that.
Right, but with the Chagos Islands, the Chagosians do not want to be Mauritian.
I know.
So it's the very opposite.
And there's not really a proper connection with the Mauritius and Chagos anyway. So it just begs the question as to why we should do this. I sort of am blaming David Lammy. Because why not? Did you see his performance on Mastermind that time? I don't want to talk about that, really.
Well, he was sitting right next to the Prime Minister in Prime Minister's Questions, because he's now the Deputy Prime Minister, which, although some people seem to think that was a bit of a consolation prize, given he was sacked as Foreign Secretary.
He's also Justice Secretary as well. What does he know, honestly? Well, listen, send us all your thoughts, your comments at gbnews.com/your say. But first, let's get your latest news headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon to you from the newsroom just after 2 o'clock. Well, the top story this hour, the Prime Minister has clashed with Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch in the Commons earlier over whether Britain's ambassador to Washington should keep his job. Kemi Badenoch pressed Sir Keir Starmer after Lord Mandelson admitted that a note calling paedophile Jeffrey Epstein his best pal was, in his words, deeply embarrassing. She accused the Prime Minister of poor judgment, saying victims of Epstein want Mandelson sacked.
In 2019, Jeffrey Epstein was convicted of child prostitution and sex trafficking that took place between 2002 and 2005. That is the precise period which Lord Mandelson called Jeffrey Epstein his best pal. Absolutely. He says the ambassador has expressed full regret, but the victims of the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein have called for Lord Mandelson to be sacked. It is embarrassing that the Prime Minister is still saying that he has confidence in a man who was brokering deals with convicted child sex offenders while sitting in government.
Sir Keir Starmer rejected those calls, insisting Mandelson had been through full vetting before continuing to attempt to shift focus to Labour's record.
She says the ambassador's been in the White House discussing NATO. He is, as we all are, with a number of international calls this morning and on Ukraine, as well as the attack in Doha yesterday. In the meantime, Mr. Speaker, we have been opened up a new schools-based nursery. On Monday, we had the Defence Industrial Strategy. On Tuesday, we published NHS league tables to push up standards. We reopened Doncaster and Sheffield Airport yesterday. And today, we've set out how we're repairing the concrete in our hospitals.
Sir Keir Starmer has also condemned what he called an unprecedented violation of NATO airspace after Polish forces shot down Russian drones in their skies. He's praised NATO and Polish forces for their swift response, but warned it underlines President Putin's blatant disregard for peace. The Polish Prime Minister has also said 4 drones were intercepted overnight after 19 incursions, most entering from Belarus. NATO jets then joined the scramble while 4 airports were briefly shut down. Major Mike Shearer told us it's a sign that Russia is testing NATO's resilience.
This is antagonising NATO just to the boundary of war.
Another tragedy in the Channel today. 3 migrants, including, sadly, 2 children, have drowned while trying to reach the UK. French authorities say another 3 people are missing, with rescue crews battling rough water to find them. It comes just hours after a woman died near Dover, and more than 850 migrants made the crossing in just 24 hours. It pushes this year's total now past 31,000. The Conservatives' Richard Holden claims Labour are to blame.
The only people who benefit from the illegal crossings in the Channel are the human traffickers. They put people's lives at risk. It's a tragedy that more people have died, but we can only stop the Channel crossings with a real deterrent here in the UK.
Riot police have clashed with protesters in Paris as tens of thousands are taking to the streets under the banner of Block Everything. The government deployed more than 80,000 officers nationwide, but still faced burning barricades, bins rolled onto the road, and even a bus set alight. Tear gas was fired, with more than 200 arrests made across the country. The unrest coincides with President Macron swearing in his fourth Prime Minister in just 12 months. International condemnation is mounting after Israel launched a deadly strike in Qatar's capital Doha that killed 5 Hamas members. The terror group claims Israel's attempt to assassinate its ceasefire negotiators failed, though a Qatari security officer was among the dead. Benjamin Netanyahu insists the strike was fully justified, saying it targeted senior Hamas leaders behind the 7th of October attack. But Qatar has branded it cowardly and a breach of international law, now tasking lawyers with building a case against the Israeli Prime Minister. The EU is also warning it could suspend trade and impose sanctions on Israel, a move, though, Israel's foreign minister has called unacceptable. And train operator LNER has confirmed passenger details have been exposed in a cyber attack. The government-owned company says contact information and some journey records were accessed, though no bank or password data was affected. Officials say the breach involved a third-party supplier, and they're urging passengers to be cautious of unsolicited emails or messages. The firm says it's working with cyber experts to secure its systems and will provide further updates as their investigation continues. That's the news at 2. I'll be back in half an hour. Next, though, let's take a look at this afternoon's markets.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
And here are those markets for you just after 2 o'clock. The pound will buy you $1.3527 and €1.1565 euros. The price of gold is £2,694.87 per ounce. And the FTSE 100 is at 9,257 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. 9 minutes after 2 o'clock. The Prime Minister was branded embarrassing today by opposition leader Kemi Badenoch during his first PMQs since last week's major cabinet reshuffle.
It all came after Sir Keir Starmer told MPs he had full confidence in the British ambassador to the United States, Lord Mandelson. This despite Mandelson's clear links to Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, joining us now is GB News' political editor Christopher Hope. Christopher, what more can you tell us?
Well, what more I can tell you, Nana, is a second Labour MP has now called for Lord Mandelson to go. The MP in question is Kim Johnson, the Labour MP for Liverpool Riverside. She says that she agrees with Bel Ribeiro Addy, the left-wing Labour MP, who has earlier said there should be an investigation into this issue. So I should say that the call here is for an investigation not to go, an investigation into Lord Mandelson and his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Kim Johnson tells the Telegraph this lunchtime, this suggests to me a very strong relationship, but because who sends cards with those remarks on? We've seen reported overnight, one remark, yum yum, for example, in his birthday card from Lord Mandelson to Jeffrey Epstein. Of course, 50-year-old by that point, he had been, or was known to be an issue there for with younger women. He should never have got there in the first place. A third MP had told Telegraph, of course, as you should go. He has good practice in resigning. A lot of pressure building this lunchtime on Lord Mandelson. Of course, is the UK ambassador. He's our representative, I suppose, for all of this country in the States. He remains in place. The government says this lunchtime that he passed all the security vetting procedures that were carried out early this year before he was appointed. But there's pressure now on the government to try and publish that information, or maybe even publish what may more come out. There are now concerns that more information might come out about Lord Mandelson and Jeffrey Epstein, and that could, in the words of Sir Ed Davey, the Lib Dem leader at the PMQ just now, provide a way for other countries to have compromat on our ambassador. Very, very difficult. But earlier we heard from Kemi Badenoch had her best PMQs I've seen since she became leader barely a year ago, and she really pummeled the Prime Minister on this issue. Let's hear what she had to say.
Mr. Speaker, the relationship between the US and the UK is one of our foremost relationships, and I have confidence in the ambassador in the role that he is doing.
Mr. Speaker, I think it is embarrassing that the Prime Minister is still saying that he has confidence in a man who was brokering deals with convicted child sex offenders while sitting in government. That is a disgrace.
The problem Sir Keir Starmer's got is this goes to the heart, I think, of his political response to this crisis. It's all very well to say there's no security issue here with Lord Mandelson, but the politics of appointing someone who was known to know Jeffrey Epstein to that very public role, paid for by you and me as taxpayers, it is questionable, and I think it looks even more and more difficult with these photographs emerging overnight. It's not going to go away, this pressure. Parliament rises very soon. Of course, we're seeing that happen as it goes through the conference recess. And next week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Donald Trump is here. There will be moments with the press conferences, whatever you might call it. And at those press conferences right now, the only question journalists will be asking of our Prime Minister with the US President is about Jeffrey Epstein. That is not what Donald Trump wants when he comes here next week. And I wonder whether that might force the government here to act sooner rather than later about the future of the UK ambassador to Washington.
Although I do wonder if this really puts Peter Mandelson in the same book, quite literally, as Donald Trump. I mean, these messages from Mandelson to Epstein were found in the same book where the message allegedly from Donald Trump, although he denies that, was sent to Epstein in this birthday book compilation of messages.
Donald Trump said that it's been fabricated and it's not real.
That's true, but
Donald Trump has batted it away. Unfortunately, Peter Mandelson has made a bit more of a show of himself, and there's even more stuff, and he's not as powerful.
But I suppose there is an argument here that these two men are in hot water together. I mean, that can build a friendship.
Do you think, Chopper, that this is perhaps Keir Starmer's Chris Pincher moment?
You said that a Chris Pincher moment. I mean, well, that is a good question, Nana. What we don't know is what the UK government knew in the vetting process. It was carried out independently by the Foreign Office into Peter Mandelson. We don't know the detail, were these photographs known. There's now concerns there might be other information to come out about the closeness of that relationship. We knew they were business pals, but how deep did that relationship go? And that's what we don't know. Now, for Lord Mandelson's point of view, he says this, that Lord Mandelson has long been clear that he very much regrets ever having been introduced to Jeffrey Epstein. He said further comments today to that effect, going further than that elsewhere. He is obviously recognised, he called this friendship an albatross around his neck in this interview he's given. But will that be enough to save him? The question, the pressure now is building on this government. We've got this US president in the UK next week. He's obviously been hounded by questions at home about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Now it's across the Atlantic. Now there are questions here about our top man in America, why he's being paid by a taxpayer, what we knew about this relationship, or was there a relationship here with Jeffrey Epstein. Questions to be answered, I think, and it might move very quickly, I think, with now 3 Labour MPs expressing concern. Some of them are saying that Lord Mandelson should go.
I have a kind of Christopher Hope, thank you very much. I kind of want to end that with
EastEnders theme tune. Oh my goodness, this was supposed to be the government that was the calm grown-ups, right? They were elected to end the sleaze, but what's been happening? Just completely the opposite.
It's terrible, it really is. And of course, on that bombshell, the race to replace Angela Rayner is also heating up.
Yes, tonight Labour MPs will quiz the 6 declared contenders for the party's deputy leadership, with Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson emerging as the early frontrunner.
Other candidates include former Commons leader Lucy Powell, Bell Ribeiro Addy, Dame Emily Thornberry, Paula Barker and Housing Minister Alison McGovern. Candidates need the backing of 80 MPs by Thursday evening to make it through.
Well, joining us now is the former Labour Culture Secretary, Sir Ben Bradshaw. Ben, thanks for joining us on the programme. First of all, who are you backing?
Well, I don't have a nomination as I'm not a member of Parliament anymore. I'm just an ordinary member. But if Bridget gets on the ballot, I think I will be backing Bridget. I think what we need in a deputy leader in government as opposed to opposition is somebody who complements the Prime Minister, doesn't build up an alternative power base. And Bridget is a woman, obviously. She's from the north of England. She has a great backstory, not unlike Angela Rayner's, but perhaps without some of the rougher edges. And she's a very good communicator. She's a good campaigner. And she's done a great job at the Department of Education. And for those reasons, I think I'll probably be supporting Bridget.
Well, what is this obsession with people's backstory and that they've had a tough time to get? How about, you know, Do you think that she would be the best person for the job, really? I'm just wondering, because a lot of people are not happy with Bridget Phillipson, especially with the VAT on private schools and the way currently that she's handling the education, her position as Education Minister.
Well, she's rolled out the biggest expansion of nursery places in history. She's extended free school meals for children, and you may have a different view on the private school fees, but she's used that money to invest in the state schools, which educate 93% of our kids. So I think most Labour members and I think most of the public would think she's done a good job on that. Look, she's authentic, but she's also competent.
There was a lot of controversy over her understanding of the education bill because it was taking away a lot of powers from the schools that had been devolved powers over the course of both Labour and Conservative governments. Academies had been given lots of powers, particularly over how they pay teachers, and those powers were being stripped away in that bill, something that in the House of Commons, embarrassingly, Bridget Phillipson didn't seem to know about.
Well, I think what she's done on academies is she's tried to ensure that we can have confidence that teachers who teach in academies are properly qualified. And I think most parents would agree that's quite an important thing. But education standards continue to rise. She embodies for me aspiration and educational achievement. The daughter of a single mum, went to state school, got into Oxford, worked very hard, overcame a lot of the barriers that are in front of working class people. You say that
the reason you're backing her is that she won't say anything.
What we know about voters these days is that voters really like authenticity.
Isn't the real reason you're backing her is that she won't speak out against the Prime Minister? I mean, she's the Prime Minister's candidate in this race. She's the one that's going to stick by collective responsibility because she's in the cabinet. And so she's going to be the yes man, in effect.
Well, it's not the job of a deputy leader. The secret's in the name. You're a deputy leader. Your job is to help lead the government with care. So you can't have a deputy leader who speaks out against the Prime Minister. It's just not
that
possible.
Would be unwise.
We had enough of this chaos under the Tories, didn't we, for the last few years, with endless Prime Ministers and endless ministers.
Yeah, but
you can't have a deputy leader who puts themselves in opposition to the Prime Minister. You could in opposition, and we had that with Jeremy Corbyn and Tom Watson. That did not end very well. But no, in government, look, we're in government. We're not a debating society. We're running the country. We're delivering on the manifesto promises that we were elected on. And you want someone who, yes, is supportive of the Prime Minister, can speak to them privately and criticise privately if they feel they need to. And I think that's a very important role. I think Bridget will do that. But you can't have a deputy leader who goes around undermining.
Okay, so who would be the worst? Who would be the worst one? Who would be the worst one then? Because seeing as it's it's a kind of open vote for it's not down to Keir Starmer who is chosen. So who would be the worst person that he could possibly have on his side?
Well, I think it's probably quite likely that there'll only be two people on the ballot. I mean, I don't know, but my judgment, as someone who's been in Labour politics for a long time, is that it's possibly quite likely that only Bridget and Lucy will get on the ballot. Lucy is also very good. She fills a lot of those criteria that I was outlining to you earlier. I think on balance, my preference would be for Bridget. But as I say, I wouldn't want anyone who wants to use this as an opportunity to undermine the government. That might make great headlines on GB News, but it's not what the country wants.
Well, but there are a lot of people, there are a lot of Labour members who feel pretty unrepresented by the current makeup of the cabinet, who feel that the government isn't really responding to where they are, who are looking at the rise of the Green Party, the splits with the Jeremy Corbyn Party, whatever it's going to be called. I don't think anyone quite knows, and whether it will stay together or not, that's another question. But there are a lot of people on the traditional left of the Labour Party who feel unrepresented, and I suppose they are going to be given a voice in this leadership contest, whether or not candidates get nominated. There are candidates calling for a wealth tax, for more to be spoken about Gaza, for all of these different issues. Do they not deserve to be on the ballot too?
Well, I'm sure whoever wins this will see their role, part of their role, as being a voice of the membership to the leadership, but not in public. You do that in private. You can't have any government. We saw this, as I say, with the last Conservative government that tears itself apart in public. Yes, you can make those criticisms and you can make them very powerfully in private, but you also want someone who I think is respected by the government, respected by the Parliamentary Labour Party, and but they will be a communicator and a critical friend.
Do you worry that some members will be peeling off to those other parties? If they don't hear themselves being represented at the top of the Labour Party, do you worry that the Labour Party used to be by far the largest party in terms of membership? The membership has been declining over the last few years. Do you worry that more, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Labour members could abandon the party if they don't hear those public representations?
No, I think what the vast majority of Labour members want is they want this government to deliver and they want it to succeed. They might want changes in some areas, in some policies, but they wouldn't want a leader, I don't think, who actually does their best to undermine the government and play into the government's enemies' hands. And they will want a leader who is, yes, supportive of the government, but who can be a critical friend to the Prime Minister and the Cabinet when they feel that's necessary.
All right, thank you very much, Ben Bradshaw. He's
Nice
the
to
former
talk to you.
Labour Culture Secretary. Thank you so much, Sir Ben Bradshaw. Right, it's time for the Great British Giveaway. It's our biggest prize package to date, worth over £104,000. It could be yours, a four-berth motorhome, plus 30 grand in tax-free cash. Here are the details.
You're not going to want to miss our greatest Great British giveaway so far. You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this brand new 2025 Benamar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. And remember, if you can dream it, you can drive it away. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Don't move a muscle, so much more to come.
Including NATO fighter jets shoot down Russian drones after a major airspace violation in Poland. Is this the closest that we've come to direct conflict with Moscow? But after the break.
Tragedy in the Channel. 2 children among 3 dead as crossings hit 31,000 this year alone. All of that and much more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're
the failure
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very, very easy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 27 minutes past 2. Now, 3 migrants, including 2 children, have died whilst trying to reach the United Kingdom in a small boat crossing.
This comes just hours after a woman died in UK waters near Dover, and as more than 850 migrants made the crossing in just 24 hours, pushing this year's total to past 31,000.
Well, joining us now is the political commentator Charlie Downs. Charlie, tragedy in the Channel showing the scale of this crisis.
It's stories like this that show you the number of different points of failure that the illegal migration crisis that we are currently going through kind of represents. Because there's the first point of failure, which is that these people are even allowed to make it to France in the first place, that they're allowed to pass through however many safe countries there are between their point of origin to their point of destination. The second is that they are permitted to leave French shores in these very dangerous dinghies. The third is the adults, whoever the adults were, whether it was their parents or indeed other people who do not have these children's best interests at heart, who allow the children to get on the boat. And then finally, you have the UK government who are creating the incentive structure for these crossings to happen in the first place. Because that, I think, is the key point here. It is a tragedy that these people have died in the Channel, but the buck must stop with our government. Because for all the talk of cracking down and for all the talk of creating, like taking out the incentives for these people to come here, it's not happening. I mean, we were told that the one-in, one-out deal with France would have been a deterrent. That hasn't worked. The UK government has been running like advertisements in France saying if you come to the UK, you may risk being deported. Very, very weak language. That hasn't worked. It's obvious that the strategy that this government is deploying to deal with this problem is simply not working, because I don't think they have the will to actually solve it. And the human cost of that is people dying.
But some people might say that why would they not have the will to solve this? Any government with any common sense wouldn't want to be paying almost £8 million a day to house people who've come here via small boat. Any government with half their salt would want to stop this. So why would they not? I mean, some people would listen to your argument and say, yeah, fair enough, but why would they not have the will to do this?
Well, I think there's a number of reasons for it. I think one reason is just kind of the way that institutions tend to work, which is they tend to just perpetuate themselves. And the structure, the legal structure that's been created in this country since at least 1997 has really enabled this entire crisis to happen, because it has enshrined in law the doctrine of human rights, which at one level sounds kind of nice and noble and all the rest of it, but actually in reality is easily exploited by people who do not share our sense of honesty and our sort of tradition of playing by the rules as a country. And so it allows people to exploit these systems that we have, like, for example, the fact that we put people up in this very high quality accommodation and we put clothes on their back and food in their stomachs and that sort of thing. If these people were legitimate refugees, I don't think anybody would have a problem with that. But the fact of the matter is they're not. They're primarily economic migrants coming here to do God knows what. I mean, there's only one reason you cross the Channel illegally, and that's because you don't want your name on the books, because there are perfectly easy legal routes to enter this country, as millions of people do every year. And so I think that, the government that currently rules this country, Starmer, Hermer, and others on the front bench, they're true believers in this doctrine of human rights. I mean, Starmer himself, of course, was a human rights lawyer before he was Prime Minister. Yeah. He
Charlie, you're spot
stuff.
on when it comes to economic routes into this country. I mean, we've had sky-high legal economic migration. We had sky-high, whether it's to come to work or as a family route, as a dependent, all of that's been through the roof completely. But if you are a refugee, there are actually very few routes to come to the country. This is what some people on the left will argue, that unless you come from Ukraine, unless you came from Afghanistan before the Arab scheme was closed up, unless it's a specific route from a specific country, there's no route to come to the United Kingdom.
Well, I mean, that is the case to an extent. If you have a passport, then it's very easy to get into the United Kingdom. And we know that many of these people crossing the channel illegally do, because there's plenty of footage out there of them chucking their passports in the sea, right? And that's because these people are not legitimate refugees. Now, if you are a legitimate refugee who does not have the right paperwork to get into this country, I can believe that it is quite challenging. But the fact of the matter is, this is not the only safe country in Europe. And really, if you've passed through however many safe countries to get to this one, whether it's France, Germany, etc., you know, you can. I think you should. If you're a legitimate asylum seeker, I think you would take the first opportunity you'd get instead of coming to this country, which is famously a soft touch when it comes to this issue. I mean, people smugglers across Europe and beyond market Britain as being the place that you go if you want to make easy money on the black market, using, you know, taking jobs, taking work in things like food delivery services, this kind of grey economy that we have developing in this country that incentivizes this crime.
All right, Charlie Downs, thank you very much. Really good to talk to you. Now, a spokesperson for the Home Office said it would be inappropriate to comment while the inquiry into events at Manston between June and November 2022 and any related litigation are ongoing.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's programme, but first is the latest news headlines.
Very good afternoon to you. 2:30, the top story. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch is accusing Sir Keir Starmer of poor judgment over his ambassador to Washington. Lord Peter Mandelson admitted a note calling Jeffrey Epstein his best pal was, in his words, deeply embarrassing. The Prime Minister, though, is standing firm, insisting Mandelson had been fully vetted. Sir Keir Starmer's also hit out of Moscow today, calling the downing of Russian drones in Polish skies an unprecedented violation of NATO airspace. Major Mike Shearer suggests Russia is testing NATO's resilience.
This is antagonising NATO just to the boundary of war.
Another deadly day in the Channel. 3 migrants, 2 of them children, have drowned trying to reach the UK. Hours earlier, a woman died near Dover. More than 850 have made the crossing in just 24 hours, pushing this total past 31,000. The Conservatives' Richard Holden claims Labour are to blame.
The only people who benefit from the illegal crossings in the Channel are the human traffickers. They put people's lives at risk. It's a tragedy that more people have died.
In Paris, meanwhile, riot police are clashing with protesters vowing to block everything. Barricades burned, buses torched and over 200 arrests made as Emmanuel Macron swore in his 4th Prime Minister in just 12 months. Those are the headlines. That's it from me, Tatiana Sanchez. We'll have a full roundup at 3.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Well, thanks to Sam for that. Lots more coming up on today's programme.
NATO fighter jets shoot down Russian drones after a major airspace violation in Poland, with Sir Keir Starmer hitting out at Moscow. What does this mean for the UK?
Well, all of that and so much more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello again, I'm here with your GB News weather forecast coming to you from the Met Office. Now today's going to stay pretty unsettled for many of us because there's more heavy and thundery showery rain pushing its way across the country. There is an occluded front making its way northeastwards. This is bringing some showers, but behind it a deeper feature that's bringing some more intense rain. So some heavy bursts of thundery rain pushing across particularly western parts of England, Wales and also western Scotland. It's here where we're going to see the highest rainfall totals building up. Even elsewhere, a fair few showers to watch out for, but the greatest chance of staying dry will be across eastern areas, and here perhaps the highest temperatures. We're looking at them just about scraping into the low 20s, but do watch out, there will be some blustery winds taking the edge off those temperatures. Now, as we go through into this evening, that more persistent and at times heavy rain will push across more parts of Scotland, so western, southern parts here. We're going to see those totals building up a wet into the day here. Showers across Northern Ireland, still some heavy, perhaps even thundery ones. Meanwhile, more heavy, perhaps persistent rain across parts of northern England, and it's a showery picture across much of the rest of England and Wales as we go through towards the night. Now, there will be something a bit drier and clearer following in behind from the west as that band of more persistent rain clears away towards the northeast, but also a fair few showers coming in from western parts as we go overnight, and so it's not going to turn completely dry, although across some central and eastern parts there will be a lot of dry and clear weather, and here temperatures dropping a little bit lower than they have done through some recent nights, even some towns and cities getting into single figures. Then tomorrow it's going to be a blustery, showery day. The showers piling in from the west, so it's western areas where they're going to be most frequent, but some will filter their way further east as well. The chance of some more persistent rain affecting the far northwest of Scotland, and here we're going to have some strong winds, the risk of gales perhaps for some of us too. Elsewhere, a blustery day.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Traffic disruptions are reported on the M74 northbound between junction 8 and 6 due to a road incident. Drivers are advised to use the suggested diversion and anticipate delays. The M23 southbound is closed between junction 8 and 9 due to a police incident, with normal conditions not expected until shortly before 5 this afternoon. On the M62 westbound between junction 12 and 11, only one lane is open due to a broken down vehicle. And on the trains, Northern buses are replacing trains between Corkicle and Whitehaven, while South Western Railway experiences disruption between Winchester and Basingstoke. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's coming up to 20 to 3, but NATO jets were scrambled overnight to shoot down Russian drones that invaded Polish airspace.
Now, this marks what could be a major escalation in the region, and residents have been urged to stay indoors as Polish armed forces identified and neutralised the objects.
But what does this mean for wider security? Joining us is the military historian, journalist and ex-reserve officer, Dr. Peter Caddick-Adams. Peter, thanks for being with us. I mean, this is pretty serious stuff. Polish jets shooting down Russian equipment. Does this put us at the brink of war?
It doesn't put us at the brink of war, but it's certainly a provocative and escalatory move by Russia. I think Putin feels empowered at the moment because he's been feted by both Trump and Xi at two different summits recently. And of course, the West is distracted by issues of illegal migrants. France is in turmoil. And of course, the Middle East is upside down over the Israeli bombing of Qatar. So that all means that while eyes are elsewhere, Putin can cause mischief and test NATO. And that's what he's doing. He's assessing our reaction times and trying to test our unity.
Yeah, but do you not think that perhaps the next move is that we should actually retaliate in some way, do something similar in return, just so he knows that we won't just let things like this go?
Well, I mean, that then crosses all sorts of red lines, really. I'm not sure that's...
But hasn't he just done that? I mean, do you know what I mean? It's like my daughter. If I say no and then she does something, the thing that I've told her not to do, then I ignore it, then she'll do something else. But if I do what I said I would promise when she does what I've asked her not to do, then she doesn't do it again.
Yeah, OK. So he's crossed into NATO territory and NATO have slapped his hand up. In my view, not hard enough. 19 drones went into Polish airspace. Only 4 of them were shot down. All of them needed to be shot down. And NATO, as it's probably doing, needs now to revise its sort of procedures so that at the moment there's a hint of anything crossing into any NATO airspace anywhere, it gets shot down. In other words, you know, whenever the hand goes near the cookie jar or into the cookie jar, it gets well and truly hit. But if we start straying into Russian airspace and trying to do likewise, that is then the kind of retaliation and provocation that Moscow would want. So at the moment, it's a standoff.
It's sort of easy to say we should shoot down a drone that might have... I mean, Putin can very easily argue this was accidental, it didn't mean to go into Polish airspace, it's right next door. This is the plausible deniability we see Russia operating with all the time. But what happens if next time it is a manned aircraft I mean, would a NATO country really shoot down a Russian manned aircraft that strayed half a mile above our airspace?
Well, let's put this into context. The Turkish President Erdogan shot down a manned Russian aircraft that strayed into his airspace, and the Russians never did that again. Putin bullies, but he quite often never delivers and usually backs down. So that may well be the stage. But let's bear in mind, these drones don't have to be armed. These ones that ended up in Polish airspace probably weren't armed. They didn't really cause any damage. And when you're trying to shoot down drones, you never know whether they're equipped with explosives or not. But they're designed to swamp your air defenses so that some can get through elsewhere. I'm not sure there's a real distinction these days between a manned airframe and an unmanned airframe that's carrying explosives. They're both capable of doing huge amounts of damage. And we don't want to get into that kind of tit-for-tat war where Russia feels it's entitled to send airframes, whether they're drones or missiles, against any NATO nation at any time. We haven't got to that stage yet.
All right, Dr. Peter Adams, thank you very much. Really good to talk to you. Yeah.
Well, from one side of Europe to the other, it's National Gibraltar Day, commemorating the country's first referendum in the 1967 year when citizens chose to remain under British sovereignty.
Events will be held throughout the day to celebrate the Union flags decorating the streets of Gibraltar. And let's cross over now and speak to Jack Carson, who is there live. Jack, talk to us. It sounds fabulous, but it's gone quiet. Where is everybody?
Well, you think it's gone quiet, but I want to show you where we've just come out of the city centre. Look at all of this bunting, look at all of these flags. When you come into different parts of Gibraltar, this is what National Day really means to them. They are, of course, celebrating that referendum, celebrating remaining under British sovereignty, and this is how the locals like to decorate, like to get into the mood and celebrate. And let's speak to a few of those now. Some very proud Gibraltarians, one who's come from London and others that live here. Sasha, you've come from London.
Yeah.
I mean, why have you wanted to come back to Gibraltar for National Day? What does this day mean for you?
Wow, it's a very important day for me. I come every year. My mama and my sister and my whole family are from Gibraltar, so it's very important because we're British. So regardless of whatever, we come every year.
And Anita, for you, is it a proud day today?
Of course, because I'm British. This is to celebrate that Gibraltar is British.
Yeah.
So.
And you know, there's so many celebrations, you know, and all these decorations are so fantastic to see.
Yeah, it goes every year. Everyone goes out of the way. The whole of Gibraltar does it. We go to the beach, come here like family barbecues. We do also like for the youngsters. They have all the clubbing, the DJs. It's a big day for everyone. You can just see. I mean, the effort that goes into everything is just astonishing.
It's a very happy day for us Gibraltarians. We're very proud to be British. Very proud.
Very proud.
Thank you, all of you, so much for joining us and just giving us, you know, that insight to why it's so important that this day exists, which it only has done for 30 or so years, but also why it's so important for them that they retain their British sovereignty. And these kind of decorations really tell you all the story that you need to know. And if you want to know what the weather is like here in Gibraltar, if you want to know what the weather is like across the rest of Europe, take a look at your travel weather.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Looking ahead to tomorrow, and many places around southern Europe will have a lot of fine weather, but not everywhere. The heavy thundery rain that's been plaguing parts of Italy recently, that's pushing its way north and eastwards into parts of Greece, and there's still the risk of some thunder as it makes its way through. Elsewhere, lots of dry weather, yes, but across some parts of northern Portugal and northwest Spain, it is going to be pretty wet, even some strong winds. Otherwise, a largely fine picture as we go through into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Well, lots more coming up on today's programme. Yes, it's back British Farming Day. But are we really doing enough to support our farmers? Anna Riley is up in Yorkshire for us to find out what the farmers there are doing.
All of that and more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good afternoon, Britain. Just coming up to 10 to 3. Now, there have been so many setbacks for farmers recently, with the government's hugely controversial changes to inheritance tax and a hot summer damaging crop yields.
But the industry is fighting back, and today is Back British Farming Day, when we celebrate the country's food and farming sector.
Well, we're delighted to be joined by GB News Yorkshire and Humber reporter Anna Riley, who is up in York for us. Anna, what's going on there?
Good afternoon to you both. Well, I'm joined by Richard Bramley. We're on his farm here near York. He's an NFU member for the York East branch, and this afternoon there's been a gathering of farmers. There's been local councillors come in talking about the joys of farming, what farmers do for the communities, what they do to feed the nation, what they do to protect the countryside, but also the struggles that farmers are facing at the moment. So what has the day been like for you?
Well, it was primarily about celebrating British farming and everything that we do, but it's been really good to see a lot of local councillors. We've had both the East Riding and North Yorkshire county councillors and the City of York here, and having that opportunity to interact with them, I think it's worked both ways. It's been good. We've established that there's a lot of mileage in working with the rural community, particularly within urban areas as well. We've established that for children, getting out into the countryside and understanding about farming is something that really should be on the curriculum. It's such an important thing, where our food comes from and how our landscape's managed. Yeah, it's been good.
And what are the struggles that you're still facing now, and what were some of the pleas that other farmers were talking about today?
There's a big issue when it comes to local councils with planning. A lot of frustration over the costs of getting planning and the hurdles that are put in place. And often on farm, you know, you're putting in for planning permission for a way to increase the productivity of the farm or improve the environmental credentials. So it's all really positive stuff. It can create employment as well as improving our sort of ability to produce food here and the resilience around that. So that's a good thing. The discussions around education has been really positive, and the frustration sometimes with the lack of understanding that there is. And then we got onto the weather, of course. You know, like every good farmer, we had a good, strong discussion about the resilience that we need to the extremes of weather that we're seeing, or the more normal weather patterns, which is to have these very dry and very wet periods. And then inevitably the huge sort of issues there are around funding for farmers, the frustration there is with the public goods agenda and the environmental schemes, and the removal of any support to help mitigate some of the fluctuations we have in markets, market and supply chains that really do stack it against home produce, which seems crazy. And then that black cloud on the horizon, the whole debate around inheritance tax and the folly that is. It's preventing investment on farm. It's really making decisions difficult.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you for having us on the farm today. And it's the 10th year of this Awareness Day, and Richard's having some farmers from America visit him tomorrow as well to see how the British do it.
All right, thank you, Anna Riley. Well, listen, coming up, Martin Daubney. He's up next. There's lots to talk about. Peter Mandelson.
He's got to go.
Yeah.
Surely he's got to go. And more to the point, what did Sir Keir Starmer know? And how many times have we heard, I have full confidence in whoever it is, and then they get the boot. It's like Sam Allardyce. It's like a football manager getting the full confidence of the ball, and the next day they get the boot. Surely he's got to go. Plus, you've seen that video of 7 miles of flags, of patriotic flags across an A road in Birmingham. Who did it? They're on my show for the first time. 10 million views. Elon Musk retweeted it. It's been called the greatest act of patriotism since Churchill beat the Nazis. That's coming 3 till 6.
Amazing stuff.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, as we go through the rest of this week, it's going to stay unsettled. There will be some more heavy and at times thundery showers and some blustery winds too. It's all because we have a mature area of low pressure to the northwest of the UK, and this is driving some fronts across us at the moment. These fronts bring some heavy, at times persistent, thundery rain across western parts, and then that feeding northeastwards as we go through the night, eventually clearing away towards the northeast. Behind it, there will be some drier and clearer weather, particularly across central and eastern parts, but further west, more showers piling their way in. Where it stays dry and where we have clear skies, temperatures, particularly away from towns and cities, will fall into single figures, but even a few places, more built-up areas, could just about drop into single digits. So a bit of a fresh start tomorrow compared to some recent mornings. Plenty of showers across southern parts through the morning, some of them feeding up through the Bristol Channel, and they are going to become more widespread as we go through the day. A showery start for Northern Ireland, western parts of northern England, some of those feeding across the Pennines, and also plenty of showers across much of Scotland. In fact, here, the showers are likely to merge into some longer spells of rain. We have some rain wrapping around, and so the rain's going to be quite persistent at times, and we do need to watch out for some strong winds. We're talking gales, maybe even severe gales, around the most exposed parts towards the northwest of Scotland. Otherwise, as we go through into the afternoon, plenty of showers. They're going to be really widespread, and some of them will be heavy and thundery. There'll also be be some blustery winds, which will take the edge off the temperatures, which should just about get into the high teens or low 20s for many of us. More showers as we go through the end of the day, still wet and windy towards the far northwest of the UK, and that takes us really into another showery day on Friday. More showers to come as we start the weekend. Sunday has the potential to bring some very wet and windy weather, but details need to firm up on that.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. This brand new 2025 Benamar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
No, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Very, very good afternoon to you. It's 3 p.m. Welcome to the Martin Daubney Show here on GB News, broadcasting live across the UK.